In Gaza, it's the sea which provides relief from 33-degree heat and life inside a tent without running water or electricity. The UN says over 80% of Gaza's buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Israeli airstrikes continued after this attack on a mosque 2 weeks ago, with over 1,200 Palestinians reported killed since last year's truce. But the US president recently met Israel's Prime Minister and the targeted assassinations have stopped. Yet would Benjamin Netanyahu even sign up to Donald Trump's peace plan? No, he would not.
Israel rejects the 15-point plan. I'm saying it again. Israel rejects the 15-point plan. The IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. We are talking about real disarmament, not a fictitious disarmament.
The 15-point roadmap was developed by the US, Turkey, Qatar and Egypt, and 11 days ago Donald Trump's Board of Peace published it. The same day, the president called Hamas's approval a historic breakthrough. Under the roadmap, a national committee for the administration of Gaza would take over all weapons and governance from Hamas. The roadmap says this process shall be linked to an Israeli withdrawal in phases. Israel currently occupies more than half of Gaza along this yellow line. The roadmap also talks of creating a credible pathway towards achieving Palestinian self-determination and statehood. By this Thursday, both sides were supposed to agree a timetable for this plan, but now Israel has publicly walked away from both its withdrawal and from a Palestinian state.
As long as I am Prime Minister, a Palestinian state will not be established, not in Gaza and not in Judea and Samaria.
None of this is a surprise, though in Gaza today, American soldiers working for the Board of Peace were still setting up a base for international peacekeepers, as if the roadmap was still leading somewhere. Only Uganda and Morocco have committed troops so far. Meanwhile, the Board of Peace's chief negotiator is suggesting Hamas will have to disarm before Israel withdraws.
If there is verified decommissioning of weapons, that they are taken away from the factions and stored and ultimately rendered unusable, Israel then withdraws from Gaza.
If Donald Trump is disappointed, well, he isn't saying. Instead, an official briefed that the White House isn't bothered, that Mr. Netanyahu is just electioneering and, importantly, not attacking Gaza in the way that he was. As for Hamas, well, it wants Israel to allow more aid in here. It also says that Mr. Netanyahu is electioneering and that Israel should withdraw to last year's ceasefire line before there can be any progress.
Well, earlier I spoke to the emergency medicine Dr. James Smith, who's currently working in a Gaza hospital. It's his third stint there since the start of the conflict, and I began by asking him to compare the situation now to how it was at the height of the war.
When I was last here in the spring, summer of 2024, I mean, Israel's attacks on Gaza were extremely intense. They were widespread throughout the entirety of Gaza. The intensity of those attacks has diminished, but they do continue. Every week, the security monitoring that's in place here reports somewhere in the region of 200 security incidents. Almost all of those relate in some way to Israeli military activity. What we're seeing now is the slow and cumulative effect of deprivation, manufactured deprivation over almost 3 years now, people being left to live in abysmal living conditions.
And what are the kind of medical conditions that you're having to deal with?
We're seeing the sort of conditions, clinical conditions that result from suboptimal living conditions. So approximately 1 million people in Gaza now are in need of what's called emergency shelter, basic shelter provision. And many of them don't have that access. They are living in overcrowded conditions, in flimsy makeshift shelters. We're talking about tarpaulin that is stretched out over a metal or wooden frame. People don't have access to the the minimum standard of clean drinking water. Of course, the sanitation systems have been destroyed and undermined, which means that they're effectively non-functional. There's an almost constant smell of raw sewage wherever you go. And access to nutritious food is, of course, also still a major problem. Now, the food security situation has improved as compared to last year, but that's comparing now to the famine conditions of August 2025. Every month still, approximately 3,000 children are being admitted into acute malnutrition programs. And we're seeing some of those malnourished children in our clinic as well.
What about amputees? There must be lots of amputees.
Absolutely. First thing to emphasize, of course, is that Israel's strikes throughout Gaza have continued. In the larger hospitals, they are continuing to receive trauma wounded. So people are having acute new injuries inflicted upon them. And of course, the total number of people who have suffered injuries over the course of the last 3 years is somewhere in the region of 200,000. There are more child amputees in Gaza now than in any other territory anywhere in the world. This is the legacy of Israel's actions in Gaza.
Dr. James Smith, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, one of Israel's most influential political journalists is Amit Segal of Channel 12. He joins me now. Thanks for coming on the program, Amit. I mean, we played that clip of Mr. Mladenov on Channel 12. I think that was your interview. You interviewed him. And were you clearer at the end of the interview what is actually going on? Your prime minister is saying he doesn't like the 15-point plan. Trump doesn't seem to care too much. Hamas is still sticking to it. This guy, Mladenov, said it's still alive. What is it?
I think we see the birth of this plan. It's way too early to determine whether this baby is going to grow up. Hamas is an obstacle. The very idea that a murderous terrorist organization is going to actually voluntarily give up its weapons and tunnels and RPG missiles is like a dream in the Middle East. But I would say that the general decision in Israel was to give it a go, to actually let it happen. Here's the thing. Two things changed. One is that 78 days prior to the general election in Israel, Gaza is a hot potato. There isn't a single Israeli senior politician that actually supports the plan. Not because they do not really support it, but because it is perceived in the electorate in Israel as a surrender to Hamas, give or take. And the second thing is that there are three problematic points in the plan. One is the presence of Turkey and Qatar, a pro-Hamas countries that are supposed to allegedly supervise Israel, which is, of course, it's an absurd. Second is that the weapons are not to be taken out of the Gaza Strip, but to be stored in warehouses inside the Gaza Strip. So Hamas is always one wall away from its weapons. And the third thing is the demand from Israel to withdraw, at least partially, even before Hamas has fully disarmed itself.
Right. And of course, one of the other things that Jonathan mentioned in his report is that there's supposed to be a roadmap towards some kind of viable state, which the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, has categorically ruled out. I mean, the whole point of having this plan, of having the border peace, is that eventually, hopefully sooner, there's some kind of viable future for 2.2 million civilians, Palestinians, living in the Gaza Strip in the most dire circumstances created by the bombardment of Israel of the Gaza Strip. What future do these people have? What is, what humanity can Israel offer them?
Yeah, so first of all, it's not that Israel just decided one day to start bombing the Gaza Strip.
Well, it was in response to October the 7th, but it was a very asymmetric response.
Yeah, it's an asymmetric. So I would say that one might wonder what an asymmetric response for the beheading of babies and raping of women and killing of 1,200 innocent people should be. Should Israel behead babies?
Israel bombed 70,000, roughly 70,000 Palestinians. Let's not play the numbers game. I just want to know. I want to know what you think. Let me just ask the question. I want to know what you, as a journalist, and Israeli society envisages for these civilians living in the Gaza Strip, right next door to you.
I think it's quite clear. First of all, the very decision of the Israeli government, and I think it's supported by 90% of the Israeli public, is that Israel should never allow again to a murderous military power to actually get stronger on its borders. This is one thing. And the second is the question how to do it. So I think the plan of the Board of Peace is exactly this. It says without having the need of Israel to operate in the Gaza Strip in order to unroot Hamas from the population. So if they give up the weapons and they hand it over, so it might solve the problem peacefully. However, I don't think there is a single person between the river and the sea that really believes that Hamas is going to give up its weapons. So I think here's the thing. It begins with education. As long as people or pupils and students in the Gaza Strip and children are educated that Jews are pigs and they should be massacred, no matter if they're babies or women, etc., nothing is going to change. And that's why
are they getting an education at all? Because you've destroyed all their schools. So where are they being educated?
It's not us.
Well, the idea, not you personally.
Unless you use the royal we. I haven't bombed anyone, but I have to remind to the audience that the reason is because Hamas used hospitals and mosques and, of course, schools as shelter for its terrorists, and there are hundreds and thousands of pieces of evidence for this. So the main thing is as follows. The very idea of unrooting the incitement and hatred and anti-Semitism from Gaza is in the plan. I'll give you an example for a country that is not...
Give me 5 seconds because we've run out of time. I'm sorry.
Sure. So 5 seconds. So it's the Emiratis that offered that the education system is going to be changed. And I think we should trust the Emiratis for this.
Okay, well, watch that space closely. Amit Segal, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Matt.